Dr. Hejin stood at the massive window of the Galactic Council space station, watching Earth become smaller in the distance. His heart beat faster as he straightened his formal suit. As Earth's top expert in alien biology, he had been chosen to represent humanity in their first meeting with the Galactic Council. "Dr. Hejin, they're ready for us now," said Captain Jaewon, walking up behind him. She wore her crisp military uniform, her medals shining under the station's lights. Hejin nodded and followed her through the gleaming hallways. Everything looked so clean and perfect, almost too perfect. The air smelled different here, lighter somehow. He had already noticed that the artificial gravity was set slightly lower than Earth's. They entered the Great Chamber, where representatives from 30 alien species sat in rising circles, like a giant theater. Hejin saw creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had multiple arms, others had scaled skin, and a few even floated in special tanks filled with liquid. A tall, blue-skinned alien with silver eyes stepped forward. "Welcome, humans. I am High Counselor Thex of the Luri. We are honored to welcome Earth into the galactic community." Hejin bowed slightly, following their planned protocol. "The honor is ours, High Counselor." "Before we begin," Thex said, looking at a glowing datapad, "we need to confirm some information about your homeworld." He paused, his silver eyes growing wider. "There must be some mistake in our readings." "Is something wrong?" Captain Jaewon asked. A red-scaled alien in heavy armor stood up. "Wrong. Their planet is a Class 12 death world. The gravity is crushing. The atmosphere is corrosive, the temperature swings are extreme, and the entire surface is infected with aggressive organic life." The alien's voice boomed through the chamber. "How are they even alive?" Whispers spread through the chamber. Hejin noticed many aliens moving back slightly in their seats. "We call it Earth," Hejin said simply. "It's quite nice once you get used to it." The chamber went completely silent. "Get used to it?" another alien asked, this one looking like a tall insect. "Your species evolved there." "Yes," Captain Jaewon answered. "Is that unusual?" High Counselor Thex seemed to recover from his shock. "Most spacefaring species come from Class 3 or 4 worlds. The highest we've encountered before was a Class 7 species." He looked at his datapad again. "You're saying you don't use environmental suits on your planet's surface?" Hejin shook his head. "No, we go outside freely. We even have outdoor sports and activities." The red-scaled alien, who Hejin now recognized as a Mector from their briefing files, spoke again. "Impossible. Our strongest environmental suits can barely handle Class 10 conditions. Perhaps," Hejin suggested carefully, "we could share data about our biology. It might help explain things." He pulled out his tablet, showing charts of human medical data. The alien scientists in the chamber moved forward, their fear forgotten in their curiosity. Hejin noticed how they handled their own tablets so delicately, how they moved so carefully in the low gravity. "Remarkable," one of the scientists said. "Their bones are incredibly dense. Their muscles, the cellular structure, they're built like living tanks. And look at their immune system," another added. "It's constantly at war with microscopic life forms. They've evolved alongside millions of bacteria and viruses." High Counselor Thex raised his hands for quiet. "This is most unexpected. We will need time to process this information." He looked at Hejin and Jaewon with new interest. "It seems we have much to learn from each other." As they left the chamber later, Captain Jaewon whispered to Hejin, "Did you see how they looked at us? Like we were some kind of monsters." Hejin smiled slightly. "They're not wrong. To them, we're creatures who treat a deadly planet like a paradise." He looked back at the chamber doors. "But they're missing something important." "What's that?" "Earth didn't just make us strong," Hejin said. "It made us adaptable. And I have a feeling that's going to surprise them even more." As they walked back to their quarters, neither of them noticed the Mektar warrior watching them with narrowed eyes. already sending a secure message to his superiors about these dangerous new Deathworlders who had just joined the galactic community. 3 months after the first meeting, Dr. Yoon peered through her microscope in the shared laboratory on the Galactic Science Station. She blinked twice, then looked again. "Hajin," she called out. "You need to see this." Hajin walked over from his desk, where he had been studying alien medical texts. "What did you find?" "Watch this," Yoon said, pointing to the screen showing her experiment. She had placed human and alien tissue samples in what the Galactic Council considered extreme conditions. The alien samples were breaking down, but the human cells were doing something unexpected. "They're not just surviving," Hejin said, leaning closer. "They're adapting." "Exactly. Our cells are changing to match the environment. No other species can do this so quickly." Their discussion was interrupted by Captain Ji-won's voice over the comm system. "Dr. Hejin, Dr. Yoon, please come to Observation Deck 3. There's something you should see." When they arrived, they found Ji-won watching a video feed from one of the new human mining colonies. A group of human miners worked in their basic protective suits, hauling equipment across the rocky surface of a planet called NK-792. "What's so special about this?" Yoon asked. "Watch the temperature readings," Ji-won said, pointing to the corner of the screen. The numbers showed extreme heat on one side of the planet and freezing cold on the other. The miners were working right in the zone where these temperatures met, creating violent storms. "The Galactic Council says this planet is too dangerous for mining," Ji-won explained. "But our people are doing fine. The aliens can't believe it." Hajin noticed movement near the door. A group of Mektar warriors stood there, watching the video with intense focus. Their leader, Supreme Commander Vex, had his arms crossed over his armored chest. "Impressive," Vex said, his voice low and growling. "Your species continues to surprise us." "Thank you," Ji-won replied carefully. She had learned to be cautious around the Mektar. "Tell me," Vex continued, "how many colonies has humanity established now?" 7, Ji-won answered, "all on planets other species found too challenging." Vex's eyes narrowed. 7 colonies in 3 months. That's quite fast. After the Mektar left, Yoon moved closer to Hajin and Ji-won. "Did you see how they looked at us? Like they were studying a weapon." "They're afraid," Hajin said. "First they learned we come from a deadly world. Now they're seeing how quickly we can adapt to any environment." Just then, Hajin's tablet beeped. A message from the Galactic Council appeared. "Emergency meeting. Topic: Human expansion concerns." "Here we go," Ji-won sighed. "I knew this was coming." In the council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. High Counselor Vex looked troubled as he addressed the human delegation. "Your species has shown remarkable capabilities," Vex said carefully. "Some council members are concerned about the speed of your expansion." "We're following all council guidelines," Ji-won pointed out. "Yes, technically," a Mektar representative said. "But you're settling worlds we classified as dangerous, worlds that could serve as military advantages." Hajin stepped forward. "We're scientists and miners, not soldiers. We're going to these worlds because they're the ones available to us. The safer worlds are already claimed." "Perhaps," Vex said from his seat, "we should implement new regulations. For safety reasons, of course." As they left the chamber, Hojin pulled out his tablet and showed Yoon and Ji-won his notes. "Look at this. Every species that reached our level of expansion needed at least 2 years. We did it in 3 months." "And that scares them," Yoon added. "It should," Ji-won said, looking back at the chamber doors. "Because we're just getting started." None of them noticed the small drone following them, recording every word and sending the data directly to Supreme Commander Vex's private command center, where the Mektar leader was already planning how to deal with these dangerous Deathworlders before they grew too powerful to control. Director Tae-young stood in the control room of Mining Colony Beta, watching the massive storm approach through the reinforced windows. The colony's sensors flashed warning after warning as acid rain began to fall. All workers, return to the main building, he ordered through the comm system. Storm protection protocols in effect. Just then, his emergency line beeped. It was He Jin. Director, are you seeing this? The Galactic Council is broadcasting an emergency meeting about your colony. Tai Young switched on the video feed. On the screen, various alien representatives argued about the mining colony's existence. This is madness. A Mektar scientist shouted. That storm would melt through our strongest chips. The humans are working in it with basic protection here. In the council chamber, He Jin and Yoon-hee sat with their research data ready. The two scientists had been called to explain human survival capabilities. If I may, Yoon-hee stood up, her voice clear and strong. We've studied why humans can survive these conditions. Would the council like to see our findings? Supreme Commander Vex interrupted before she could continue. We've seen enough of human capabilities. He turned to face the council. They survive where we cannot. They adapt faster than any species. They expand without limits. How long before they decide they want our worlds too? The chamber erupted in worried whispers. He Jin noticed several species shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Just then, the doors opened. Lieutenant Sun Mei walked in, her military uniform spotless. She had been invited to demonstrate human combat training to some alien military observers. Excuse my interruption, she said, bowing slightly. But I believe there's been a misunderstanding during today's training session. High Counselor Vex looked interested. Please explain, Lieutenant. During the combat exercises, our alien partners became concerned when I continued fighting after taking several hits, Sun Mei said. They thought our training systems had malfunctioned. And had they? Vex asked. No, humans are simply used to continuing despite pain or injury. It's how we survived on Earth. The chamber went silent again. He Jin saw the horror on many alien faces. What they saw as extraordinary endurance was just normal human behavior. Back at Mining Colony Beta, Tai Young's team had not only survived the acid storm, but had discovered a rich vein of rare minerals during it. He sent the report to Earth Command, not realizing that the Mektar had intercepted the transmission. In his private chamber, Supreme Commander Vex reviewed the intercepted data. Look at this, he growled to his officers. They found Quantium-40 deposits, the most valuable strategic resource in the galaxy, and they found it on a planet we deemed uninhabitable. What are your orders, Supreme Commander? His second-in-command asked. Begin Operation Containment, Vex ordered. These humans are too dangerous to let them grow stronger. Meanwhile, He Jin and Yoon-hee were meeting with Captain Jae-won in a secure room. The Mektar are planning something, Jae-won said, showing them classified reports. Their fleet movements don't match their declared positions. Could they be preparing for military action? Yoon-hee asked, concerned. Against humans, they wouldn't dare, He Jin said. The Council would never approve. The Council is afraid of us, Jae-won pointed out. They might look the other way if the Mektar promised to keep us in check. Lieutenant Sun Mi joined them, still in her training gear. After today's exercise, I'm even more concerned. The Mektar weren't just observing our capabilities. They were testing our limits. Then we need to be ready, Jae-won said firmly, because I don't think they're going to wait much longer to make their move. As they spoke, on Mining Colony Beta, Tai Young noticed something strange on his long-range scanners. Multiple ships were approaching, their identification signals masked. The storm had passed, but he had a feeling an even bigger one was about to begin. Do-hyun wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on the alien engine. His engineering team had found ways to make the Galactic Council's technology work better than even its creators thought possible. Chief Engineer, one of his assistants, called out, "You need to see this." The engine they had modified was running at 150% efficiency. Do-hyun smiled, remembering how the alien engineers had said this was impossible. Human ingenuity, he said quietly. We've had to think creatively to survive on Earth for thousands of years. Suddenly, alarms blared through the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Emergency, emergency, the station's AI announced. Attack detected at mining colony Beta. Multiple casualties reported. Do-hyun rushed to the command center. He-jin, Yoon-hee, and Captain Ji-won were already there, watching the screens with horror. The colony's defenses were sabotage, Ji-won said, her voice tight with anger. Someone used Mektar weapons, but something doesn't feel right. Look at this, Yoon-hee pointed to a data stream. The attack pattern. It's too perfect, too calculated. He-jin nodded, like someone trying to make it look like a typical Mektar attack. Just then, Kita, Earth's chief diplomat, rushed into the room. His usually neat suit was wrinkled, showing he had hurried from an important meeting. The Galactic Council is calling an emergency session, he said. The Mektar are accusing us of staging the attack ourselves. What? Do-hyun asked in shock. Why would we attack our own colony? They say we're trying to create an excuse for war, Ketat explained. Supreme Commander Vex has evidence that human ships were in the area. He-jin turned to his computer terminal. Yoon-hee, help me access the colony's sensor logs. There's something we're missing. As they worked, Do-hyun noticed something strange about the damage reports. These weapon signatures. They're Mektar, but they're different from current Mektar technology. How do you know? Ji-won asked. Because I've been studying their weapons. These signatures match their old weapon systems from 10 years ago. No active Mektar ship uses these anymore. Kita's eyes widened. Old weapons that can't be traced to current Mektar ships. They planned this carefully. In the council chamber, Vex was speaking. The humans are clearly preparing for war. They modify our technology without permission. They build colonies in strategic locations. Now they stage attacks to justify military action. He-jin stood up from his terminal. Captain, look at this. I found something in the sensor logs. The screen showed a hidden data stream. Yoon-hee quickly decoded it. These are commands sent to the colony's defense systems just before the attack. They shut down the shields. Can you trace them? Ji-won asked. Yes, Yoon-hee said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. They came from a Mektar command ship. Do-hyun checked the weapons data again. The old weapons, the perfect attack pattern, the hidden commands. This wasn't just an attack. It was a setup. We need to get this evidence to the council, Kita said urgently. But we have to be careful. If the Mektar realize we found this, they'll attack for real this time, Ji-won finished. Just then, the station's eye spoke again. Alert. Multiple unidentified ships entering the system. All personnel to battle stations. Too late, He-jin said grimly. They're not waiting to see if their plan worked. Do-hyun rushed back to his engineering team. Get those engine modifications online. We're going to need every advantage we can get. As the station's crew prepared for battle, Kita made one last call to Earth. They needed to warn everyone. The war the Mektar wanted had finally begun, whether humanity was ready or not. The emergency alarms blared through all 7 human colonies at once. Mektar warships appeared from hyperspace, their weapons already charging. Fleet Commander Minna stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Horizon, watching the tactical display with steady eyes. All ships, battle formations, she ordered. Protect the colonies at all costs. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ki-tae rushed in with He-jin and Yoon-hee, carrying their evidence of the Mektar deception. But the room was almost empty. Where is everyone? Ki-tae asked, looking around. High Counselor Vex sat alone in his chair, his silver eyes sad. They knew, he said quietly. The council knew what the Mektar planned. They chose to look away. You're abandoning us, He-jin asked in disbelief. The Mektar promised to only contain human expansion, not destroy your species, Thex explained. The Council. They think this is the safer option. At Mining Colony Beta, Director Tai Young's voice rang through the speakers. All personnel to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. The colonists moved quickly but calmly. They had practiced for this. Earth had taught them to always be ready. Sir, one of Tai Young's staff called out. The Mector are targeting our main power core. Activate backup systems, Tai Young ordered. Show them what humans do in a crisis. On the horizon, Minna received damage reports from the first wave of attacks. The Mector had superior numbers and technology, but they had made one crucial mistake. They think we'll fight like them, Minna said to her crew. Show them how Earth creatures fight when cornered. Her ships broke into smaller groups, using maneuvers that seemed chaotic to the Mector. They used the harsh environments of the colony worlds, the storms, the radiation, the extreme temperatures, as weapons. Back at the science station, Du Hyun worked frantically with his team. The Mector ships are stronger, he told them, but their crews can't handle the same stress we can. Push the engines past their limits. Make them try to keep up with us. In the council chamber, Yoon Hee suddenly noticed something in their sensor data. Hajin, look. The Mector ships. Their crews are wearing full environmental suits even inside their own ships. Hajin's eyes widened. They need perfect conditions to function. But we adapt, Kita finished. Quick, send this to Commander Minna. When Minna received the data, she smiled for the first time since the battle began. All ships, new tactic, she ordered. Push them into the asteroid field near Colony 3. Full speed, maximum gravity changes. The human ships dove into the field, making tight turns that subjected their crews to intense G-forces. The Mector ships tried to follow, but their crews started making mistakes. Some couldn't handle the rapid pressure changes. Their biosigns are failing, Yoon-hee reported, watching the data. Their bodies aren't built for this kind of stress. In Mining Colony Beta, Tai Yun watched as 3 Mector ships crashed into each other, trying to follow a human mining ship through a storm. This is why we survive, he said to his staff. Earth taught us to adapt or die. They never learned that lesson. But the victory was far from certain. The Mector still had more ships, and Supreme Commander Vex was calling in reinforcements. We need help, Minna said, watching more enemy ships arrive. Call Earth. Tell them to send everything they have. Hajin, watching the battle from the council station, turned to Kita. We need to make the council see. This isn't just about us anymore. If the Mector win here, they won't stop with humans. Kita nodded. We need to show the council that helping us is in their own interest. As the battle raged on, Minna's words echoed through every human ship and colony. Remember who we are. Remember Earth. Remember what made us strong. The real test of humanity's strength was just beginning. Supreme Commander Vex stood on his command ship, watching in disbelief as another squad of his best ships failed to break through the human defenses. How? He demanded. How are they still fighting? On the human side, Commander Minna's voice crackled through the battle communications. All ships, execute Operation Thunderstorm. The human fleet split into 3 groups. They flew straight into the worst areas of space, radiation zones, asteroid fields, and magnetic storms that the Mector wouldn't dare enter. In his engineering bay, Du Hyun worked with his team to push their ships beyond normal limits. Redirect power from life support, he ordered. We can handle less oxygen. They can't. The Mector crews watched in horror as human ships continued fighting with minimal life support, in conditions that would kill most species in minutes. Back at Mining Colony Beta, Director Tai Young had turned the entire facility into a fortress. His miners used their heavy equipment as makeshift weapons. They fought in the acid rain and toxic atmosphere, conditions that forced the Mector to wear suits that slowed them down. Sir, one of Tai Young's staff called out. The Mector's environmental suits are failing in the acid storms. Just like we planned. Tae-young smiled. Earth's reign is worse than this. Push them back into the storm. On the science station, Hejin and Yoon, he made a breakthrough. They had been studying the Mector's biology. Look at this, Yoon pointed to her screen. Their nervous systems can't handle rapid pressure changes. That's why they avoid asteroid fields. Hejin quickly sent the data to Minna. Commander, if you can force them to make quick gravity changes, their crews will black out. Minna finished. All ships, new target, hit their artificial gravity systems. Do-hyun's engineering teams modified their weapons. The new attacks didn't damage the Mector ships. Instead, they made their gravity controls go crazy. Inside the Mector ships, crews collapsed as gravity shifted wildly from 0 to 3 times normal in seconds. But the human crews, used to Earth's punishing gravity, kept fighting. Impossible, Vex shouted as his ships began to retreat. Their bodies should have broken under such stress. Keita, watching from the council station, turned to the few alien representatives who had stayed to watch. This is what you don't understand, he said. Earth didn't just make us strong. It made us impossible to break. The human ships pressed their advantage. Minna's voice was tired but determined. They wanted to see what Deathworlders can do. Show them. Human crews worked without sleep for days. They fought with broken bones and torn muscles. When their ships were damaged, they made repairs in open space, enduring radiation that would kill other species. Commander, Do-hyun reported, we've adapted their shield technology. We can now use their own weapons against them. This was what humans did best. They took technology and made it work in ways its creators never imagined. Supreme Commander Vex received reports from all fronts. His forces were being pushed back everywhere. The humans weren't just surviving. They were winning. How do you beat an enemy? He asked his officers, who treats deadly conditions like a minor inconvenience. On the horizon, Minna watched as more Mector ships retreated. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Tell them the Deathworlders just proved why you should never corner a species that evolved to survive everything their planet could throw at them. Hejin and Yoon, he looked at each other in the science lab. They thought Earth made us monsters, Hejin said. No, Yoon, he replied. Earth made us survivors, and that's much more dangerous. As the battle turned in humanity's favor, the Galactic Council began to realize their mistake. They had feared humanity's potential for violence, but they should have feared something else. Humanity's unlimited potential to adapt and overcome. The Deathworlders had been unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Sunbae led her ground forces through the broken streets of Colony 3. The Mector had landed troops here, thinking the colony's harsh conditions would help them trap the humans. They were wrong. Team 2, move up through the acid fog, she ordered. They can't see through it, but we can fight in it. Her soldiers moved forward, using the deadly environment as cover. Their basic protection suits were enough. They had trained for this on Earth, in worse conditions. Above the colony, Commander Minna's fleet had sprung a trap of their own. They had learned to use the local star's radiation flares as weapons. All ships, drop your radiation shields on my mark, she ordered. The Mector ships, seeing the human ships apparently defenseless, moved in for the kill. Then the solar flare hit. The radiation barely affected the human crews, their bodies used to Earth's natural radiation. But the Mector crews fell sick immediately. In his lab, Hejin had made another discovery. Look at this, he showed Yoon. Our cells don't just resist radiation. They get stronger after exposure. Like a muscle getting stronger after exercise. Yoon nodded. We adapt to threats and come back stronger. They sent their findings to Do-hyun's engineering team. Within hours, the engineers had modified their ship shields to let in just enough radiation to make the human crews stronger without killing them. This is insane, a Mector officer reported to Supreme Commander Vex. They're using radiation exposure to enhance their combat effectiveness. Vex slammed his fist on his command console. They're not fighting like a spacefaring species. They're fighting like Deathworlders, his second-in-command finished. On Colony 3, Sunma's forces had pushed the Mector back to their landing zones. The alien troops couldn't handle the combination of human warfare and environmental hazards. "Remember your training," Sunma called out. "Fight like Earth taught us." Her soldiers used tactics learned from Earth's predators: pack hunting, ambush attacks, and relentless pursuit. The Mector, used to organized battlefield combat, had no defense against these primitive but effective strategies. In mining colony Beta, Director Taeyong's miners had turned their deep tunnels into a maze of traps. The Mector troops that tried to capture the colony found themselves lost in an underground nightmare. "They thought our mining colonies would be easy targets," Taeyong said to his team. "They forgot that humans have been digging tunnels and fighting in them since before we had written language." The tide of war had turned. Human ships, now modified with Duhyun's radiation-enhanced systems, drove the Mector fleet back from colony after colony. Kita presented the battle reports to the Galactic Council, which had called an emergency session. "The Mector's containment strategy has failed," he announced. "But humanity does not seek revenge. We only want recognition as equals." The council members watched footage of human soldiers fighting in conditions that would kill most species. They saw human ships flying through radiation storms, their crews growing stronger instead of dying. "We didn't understand," High Counselor Thex admitted. "We thought your harsh world made you dangerous. But it made you extraordinary." Hajin stepped forward. "Earth taught us that survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being able to adapt, to think differently, to work together against impossible odds." On the front lines, Minna's fleet had surrounded the remainder of the Mector attack force. Supreme Commander Vex's ship was trapped between a radiation storm and an asteroid field. "Surrender," Minna offered. "Show us that you can adapt too." As the Mector ships lowered their weapons, the galaxy learned an important lesson. Never underestimate a species that sees deadly hazards as minor inconveniences and impossible challenges as opportunities to grow stronger. 1 month after the war ended, the Galactic Council chamber was full again. This time, Supreme Commander Vex stood before them not as an accuser, but as a defeated leader asking for peace. "The Mector Empire surrenders," he said, his voice heavy. "We acknowledge humanity's right to exist as equals in the galaxy." Hajin and Yoon, he sat in the front row, their research data displayed on screens around the chamber. They had spent the past month studying how the war had changed both humans and aliens. "What we discovered is remarkable," Yoon he explained to the council. "During the conflict, human adaptability increased even further. Our cells now show resistance to almost every environmental hazard in known space." High Counselor Thex leaned forward. "You became stronger because we tried to destroy you." "That's what humans do," Hajin said. "We don't just survive challenges. We learn from them. We grow stronger." In the shipyards near Earth, Do-hyun walked with alien engineers, showing them how his team had modified their technology. "Your ships were more advanced," he explained, "but we made them work better by thinking differently. On Earth, we learned to use whatever we had in new ways." The alien engineers watched in amazement as human workers repaired ships in open space, their bodies adapting to the vacuum faster than anyone thought possible. Commander Minna's voice came through the station speakers. "Attention all ships. The first joint human-alien defense fleet is now operational." The new fleet showed how much things had changed. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels, teaching them how to use harsh space conditions to their advantage instead of fearing them. At Mining Colony Beta, Director Taeyong welcomed alien miners for the first time. They had come to learn how humans could work in conditions their species had always avoided. "The secret isn't better technology," Taeyong told them. "It's believing you can overcome any challenge if you try hard enough." Keita stood before the council for the final vote on humanity's new status in the galaxy. "We don't ask for special treatment," he said. "We ask only that you understand us better. Earth made us strong, yes, but it also taught us the importance of working together to survive." Sun Mai, now promoted to colonel, had started training the first mixed-species military unit. Her alien troops were learning that they could push their bodies further than they thought possible. "Your bodies are stronger than you know," she told them. "Your minds are more adaptable than you believe. Earth taught us this. Now let us teach you." In his private chamber, Supreme Commander Vex watched recordings of the war. He had finally understood what his people had missed. "We saw their harsh world as a mark of savagery," he told He-Jin during their first peaceful meeting. "We didn't see that it was a forge that created something unique in the galaxy." He-Jin nodded. "Earth didn't just make us survivors. It made us teachers. Now we can help other species adapt and grow stronger too." In the Council's final session, High Counselor Vex made the announcement. "From this day forward, humanity is recognized not as a threat to contain, but as a species whose strength lies in making others stronger." The Earth delegation smiled as cheers filled the chamber. They had proved that being from a death world didn't make them monsters. It made them uniquely qualified to help the galaxy evolve. "What's next?" Yoon-hee asked He-Jin as they watched Earth's first diplomatic ships head out to new alien worlds. "We do what humans have always done," he replied. "We adapt. We teach. We help others become stronger." As the ships disappeared into hyperspace, humanity had found its place in the galaxy. They were no longer feared as Deathworlders, but respected as pioneers who could help all species reach their full potential. Earth had created them, the war had proven them, and now the galaxy would learn from them. The most dangerous species had become the greatest teachers, showing that true strength comes not from domination, but from helping others rise above their limitations.